in case we haven't met, my name is Chris Dolan, and I am the head of product and just excited to be joining you all today. And I am with my colleague, Haley. So I'll let Haley, you introduce yourself real quick.
Yes, I'm Haley Whitworth, and I am over marketing and training here at Touchpoint.
And we do have a lot to cover. So we're not going to do everything we covered at Summit, but we'll give a quick recap, some highlight photos. We are going to look back at the roadmap look back. We're really going to be focusing mainly on the last quarter. So Q3, because we do this, if you're not aware, we do these kind of big webinars that are look backs every quarter to talk about kind of highlights from the last quarter. So at the end of every quarter, we do a roadmap look back. We will do a roadmap look ahead sneak peek. I'm not going to cover everything because we just don't have time to go into detail on everything, but I'll give some highlights of the roadmap look ahead. Haley's got some training updates and a new tool that we're excited to launch called Copilot. And then there's some announcements here at the end. So I think we can go ahead. Haley, do you want to jump in and give us some Summit recap?
Yes. So it was a very full week, very fun week. So Monday was the day that the team flew in. And this is everybody from the Touchpoint team who was able to join us. So we had the biggest presence that we've ever had in terms of the Touchpoint team this year. And it's exciting for us because this is the one time a year that the whole team gets to be together. So we arrived early for setup. We had dinner at Navy Pier, which if you haven't been to Chicago, it just offers such wonderful views of the city. And we had some fun too. So these are two of the leaders on our team. I'm sure most of you know them. Ross and Morgan had a lot of fun while we were out there. And then Tuesday, that's when we kicked everything off. So this was our feature fair day. And we've already been going through the responses from our survey and lots of positive feedback on feature fair. It was a lot of energy, lots of fun that day. As you can see here, a couple of photos from local flavors. We had Do Right Donuts, we had Garrett popcorn. So we wanted to bring a taste of Chicago since Chicago is so well known for some of its foods. We wanted to provide that as well. And this wouldn't have been possible without our incredible sponsors. So these were phenomenal additions to this year's summit. Some of them may look familiar because they have joined us before. But again, we've also had such positive feedback in our surveys in regards to the connections that our churches were able to make with these sponsors this year. Tuesday night was a lot of fun. We went on an architectural river cruise, and so we got to see the city from that vantage point from floating down the Chicago River. And then it did rain, so we got a little bit wet on the last 15 minutes of the river cruise. And then afterwards, we went to Geno's East. You cannot go to Chicago without getting some deep dish pizza. So we packed that place. This was the largest welcome dinner we've had yet. It was around 175 people join us for the welcome dinner. So lots of fun being able to get together and enjoy dinner together. And then a few of us continued exploring Chicago. So you can see several of us walked up. It was just a block or so away from the John Hancock. So we walked up there, got to see the historic water tower. So if you're not aware, Chicago had a great fire. I'm going to misquote the date if I try, 18 something. And so we got to see one of the buildings that is standing from that fire. And then some of the team decided to go up and do the tilt. So that's when you part of the wall, the windows lean forward, and so you can see Chicago from a different vantage point there, and you can see our team photo. A couple of members who did the tilt. Oh, and you'll see this picture showing up again in a few minutes. Morgan and Ross decided to offer a discounted tilt for those who are interested. Wednesday, this kicked off our sessions. So we had 3 sessions, some wonderful presenters from both our church partners, and then we had some guest speakers come in, some really packed rooms, and Wednesday was a free night. And so everybody got to do whatever they wanted. We had some folks who decided to go to Wrigleyville to see a Cubs game. Some people went to Millennium Park. You can see Will and I decided to go to Buckingham Fountain. And this is, again, a photo from the John Hancock from up there looking at the city. And this is Cross Church doing Ross and Morgan's version of the tilt. So they had a lot of fun on Wednesday night also. And then Thursday was our last day. So we wrapped it up with more sessions. Another Chicago food staple is the Chicago style hot dogs. So we brought those in for food for lunch on Thursday. And one thing that we did differently this year, we had a live tech lab. So you can see Will and Andrew, and actually Nathan also, Nathan from Bellevue. They were available for questions. So if churches wanted to come instead of going to a breakout session, they were able to come and sit in and just get some questions answered live. All right, Chris, that's it for my summary of Summit. I'll turn it over to you for new features.
All right, Haley, it's telling me I can't start my video back. So I'm not sure if that's something you're able to do as the host, but we have got a lot of new features here. So we are going to jump right in. The first of those being something you've a lot of these you've already seen, and there's a few things that there'll be some previews for. So, all right, I've got my video back there. All right. So first, we're jumping in with the new menu. So this has actually been out for a while. Just want to highlight this because we are very close to actually turning this on as the default for folks. So if you haven't started using this, we strongly encourage you to. We've gotten a lot of feedback. We've made some adjustments, found some links that weren't present, but we think we've got everything covered. And this is likely going to be turned on later this fall as the default. So this is where you can go to turn that on. If you go up to your profile, in the upper right-hand corner at the bottom, you can click on to toggle on the new navigation right there. So check that out. Hopefully things are easier to find, a little better organized, and helps you get where you're going quicker. So next is Touchpoint sites. We've had several. We had a webinar on this a couple months ago, but just wanted to call this out that several churches have actually gone live with Touchpoint sites since we launched this year. There was a lot of excitement about this at the summit. And so this is spotlighting two kind of integrations. One here is like a small group finder, and then the other there's pulling in your media and resources. The beauty of this is it's integrated with Touchpoint, the database. It's a very easy to use CMS platform that can power your website. And the beauty of it is that you enter your information one time and it can pull both into the website and into the mobile app with what we're doing with 3.0, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes. So that's the sermons pulling in resources there. Next is media and resources. This was completely redone on the back end and on the front end. So the resources tab. And you've probably heard us talk about this a little bit. This is in preparation for actually feeding into what you just saw on Touchpoint sites, but also on the mobile app 3.0. Everything is all managed now into media and resources, no more app portal. Very easy to use, lots of configuration, lots of functionality, whether you're using live stream, video, audio, freeform, which is HTML, or PDFs or web links as well. So it's a place where you can put all your sermons, as well as things like curriculums, community group studies, volunteer docs, all of that kind of stuff. All right, moving on is a lot of finance changes, and we're going to breeze through these as well because we've had a separate webinar on a lot of these. We've had several roundtables. There have been a lot of blog posts, but the first of these is standardizing account codes on registrations, which led to the ability to pull in non-contributions into batches, which I'll talk about here in a minute. The batch page got completely redone. It's now a search page where you can do filters. And the beauty of this is that now you can run reports, you can run actions, you can do various things in mass. And so we actually heard a testimony at Summit last week from somebody who said it used to take them about 2.5 days to do their reconciliation, has now been cut down to just a matter of 2 or 3 hours. So love hearing that. That is our goal, is to help you save more time so that you can focus on more ministry. And so the batch search page and some of the other pages, the next page here is the batch entry page, much simpler. We've tried to reduce the number of clicks, give you a lot of new functionality here, which you'll see on the next slide around things like adding soft credits, registration credits. So we've covered all of this in a webinar. If you miss that, you can go back and check this out on the blog, but some really big enhancements here around the finance area, including a few other things like pledges are now managed in a separate page. And then I think lastly, fund sets are now much easier to manage. It's organized in a new way. And this is what it's all about, is simplifying the reconciliation. And so what you're seeing here is actually a multi-batch report. This is now possible because of the new batch search page. So what you're seeing at the top is 4 batches, and those are organized by batch settlement date. And so you see a total of $3,198.41 that you should see in your bank with those 4 deposits. And then at the bottom, it breaks it out based on contribution date and organizes it by fund. We have several different versions of this. So if this isn't the view you like to use for reconciliation, we have other versions, but it greatly simplifies the reconciliation process. You can reconcile multiple batches all at one time, saves you a lot of time. We have a simple export to Excel button right there in the middle. So really received a lot of positive feedback. If you are hearing about this for the first time, or you're one of those churches that hasn't quite jumped on the bandwagon and learned the new system, let us know. We are hearing very positive things, but I understand change can be hard, and we're here to help you make that a successful transition. And we really do think it'll save you a lot of time. So moving on, Mobile 3.0. This was a lot of time and energy and focus at Summit, because we launched and announced that we actually have several churches that have been going through, about a dozen churches that have been in an alpha testing stage, that actually over the last month have moved into various forms of beta apps, which means they're testing with their own branding, their own settings, their own configurations. We're excited to announce that tomorrow we are actually launching our very first church live into production on Mobile 3.0. And so very excited about that. Thank you to all the churches that have been helping to test, give feedback, and getting that set up. We are very close to launching this to another round of testing churches that could go live into production. And what you're seeing here is a new login flow. So all of this is completely customizable. You set the branding, you set the backgrounds, the logos, the colors. On the left-hand side, you're seeing kind of a splash page. You click Get Started. It walks you through the quick sign-in process where you enter your cell phone number, you get a code, and then you're just using a PIN and a Face ID. Super simple to get into the app. Super easy to use. The first thing you land on is some tips for how to use the app, things that might be important to your church. These are customizable by you. We provide some templates that you can use or make your own. And then after you close that, it lands on a newly designed homepage, which is turned into a feed. Very dynamic, personalized. The content in a person's feed is based on what they've opted into, what their interests are, what you know about them. And so it's relevant, real-time information, very powerful. You'll see next is in the upper left-hand corner, you can go and see your profile, completely redesigned, much more prominent profile photo. Somebody can edit their profile, update their contact information, manage their involvements. Depending on their level of access, you can see your status flags, your badges, and all the colors, and everything pulls over from there. There's a lot more that I can't show you in this short amount of time, but the profile is very powerful. Next, you're seeing a prayer request feed where people can submit prayer requests. You can pray, you can choose to click and pray for those. We actually built in some animation to actually kind of force you to stop and pause and actually pray instead of just going through and click, 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 I prayed. No, we want you to be thoughtful in this, and actually it forces you to hold down the button for a few seconds before it marks it as prayed. So really cool tool and feature there. Also integrates with what we launched last year related to prayer requests as well. And then moving on, some other areas, giving has been completely redesigned. We have now on the left-hand side, giving impact cards. In the center, you're seeing the giving page where it knows who you are. It's authenticated, so makes it possible to make a gift in under 5 seconds. Super quick and easy. And then on the right-hand side, you're seeing your history and statements. So this could save your finance team a lot of time, just telling people, hey, go to the mobile app, download your statement. It's available right there. We don't have to do additional work to send that out. Continuing on, media and resources, we showed you what it looked like on the back end managing that. This is what it looks like on the front end. So all of that pulls right into the mobile app in a seamless in-app experience, whether you're using YouTube, Vimeo, MP4, M3U8. There's other formats that I can't think of right now, but it all plays seamlessly, natively in the mobile app, gives you links to give, gives you links to your notes. If you have restrictions on resources, for example, somebody might be a community group leader, those restrictions apply across the mobile app as well. And so, you can upload your curriculums and make them only available to Sunday school teachers, for example. So very powerful, very robust. There's a search functionality, and just really excited about the way this has turned out. Next, here's events. We've completely redesigned this. There's some new ways to RSVP, as well as doing traditional kind of event registrations where it would know who you are and have you pre-authenticated. You can organize those by different categories. You have a beautiful splash page that can show a date, a location, a photo, description, all of that kind of stuff. So really beautiful. And then lastly, I'm super excited about this. We took the directory functionality and the people search functionality, combined it into one, and took into consideration all the concerns around privacy and security here. And what you're seeing is that directories can be enabled per involvement. You can set directory specific settings per involvement. So if you have a member directory and you have a small group directory, you could have directory specific settings based on that. So the member directory, my membership in my church might have hundreds or thousands of people. I might only let you see basic information, versus in a small group, I'm doing life with these people every day. We're praying, we're doing life together, we're studying God's word, breaking bread together. Those people, we might let you see everything. Each person can then manage their own directory specific or global privacy settings. This really is a powerful tool because it lets people get connected with the church and feel connected to the people that they're in relationship naturally with, while still respecting their privacy, still taking into consideration all the data security concerns. We've thought through all of that for you so that you don't have to think through it, and really excited to be rolling this out in the new app. Notifications and alerts are much more powerful here. You're seeing messages here. We have the ability to put alerts in the feed at the top, that little yellow box for special announcements that you want pinned to the top. Push notifications are much more robust. All of that is sent through the touchpoint side through the blue toolbar. So you, when this is enabled, you may have actually noticed over the last few months that it used to say email and text. Now it says email and mobile, and under mobile, it says send text. There's also app messages and notifications. So you can send those notifications through touchpoint. What does that mean for you? It means that you can do segmentation of push notifications. No more do you have to send to everybody in the app or everybody within a specific location. You can now go in and send messages just to the right person that you need to segment to get those notifications. So really powerful, very, very excited to do that. And lastly here, the menu has all been redesigned. Again, this is something, it carries over your color scheme, your logos. There's very robust push notification settings. Lots more to come that I'm going to be showing some sneak peeks of. But the best is yet to come, which is this last part. The whole thing is now managed through the touchpoint side. There's no longer an app portal. It's simply that we would turn this on in your database. That will enable some new roles. When those roles are assigned, those people are able to go and manage those different settings, turn things on and off. Super easy, all in one place. And it syncs seamlessly with Touchpoint. So we are excited. First church going live again tomorrow. Just got approved today, this week from Apple and Google, and we are super excited for that. Thank you again to all of our testers for your great feedback. Moving on, I shared a few personal announcements. and just updates. Here's a quick update snapshot of Charlie. He is almost 2, can't believe it. He actually joined us last week at Summit, which was really fun to be able to introduce him to some of you. This next shot, just something I didn't anticipate this year, but just a really cool experience. So a few blocks from our apartment in New York City, I've formed a relationship with some guys that run a workshop. They are second generation carpenters. These are actually the third generation. These are the nephews of the owner of the workshop. And almost every morning we go by the workshop, and it is just so cool to see how they love on my son, and just the relationships that we form with these guys, and just such a cool place to be and hang out. And so got to share a little bit about that at Summit. Next, another just really cool thing that happened this year was I had the honor of being nominated and then ordained to be a deacon at my church. And so just engaging in the church in a new way is just, I was on staff at this church for almost 10 years. We've been members for a number of years. So I've been around, I've done a lot, and my eyes are just opening to new ways of seeing God at work in the city. And it's just been such a cool experience. And then lastly, shared a little update. My wife and I have had the pleasure of acquiring a small, and I'll say small, we call it a shack. It's more like a tiny house in the Catskills, which is about 2.5 hours outside of New York City. It is a total fixer-upper. But one of the cool things is this house has so much character, and as bad as this looks right here, it has such cool bones and cool, like the infrastructure of this place is solid. And it's been so cool ripping this place apart and kind of figuring out what to do with it. But I kind of tied that to some of the things that we're doing that I'm going to tie into next, which is infrastructure. We talked a lot about infrastructure. One of those things is impacting something that you've heard a lot about, and you're probably might be wondering, where is it? What's the update on it? The Process Builder. After last year's summit, which we pushed this tool out into beta, we decided we wanted to apply some new infrastructure techniques to this. And so we have been hard at work over the last year, basically rewriting the whole back end of Process Builder. What we realized as we launched this to beta churches is that they are using this in much more creative ways than we even anticipated. And we planned out about, Haley, you were on this call. I think there were like 28 different scenarios, but we're just seeing churches use this in such cool ways. And so we have completely redone that work to apply a new infrastructure on this that is going to allow it to completely scale and do some really powerful things. That all those changes are in final testing right now, and we're trying to get those deployed. We didn't want to rush those out. We tried to get them out before Summit, but we just know this is a super important thing we've got to get right. And so it's all in testing right now. What you're seeing here is the ability to create different processes, and this, you can create as many of these processes as you want. On the next page is where you can see on somebody's profile the different steps on a new processes tab that shows up on their profile tab, and you can see which processes they're in and the different steps that they've completed. Here's where you manage the process, is where you set up the different steps. And what's powerful about it is there's so many automations that's built into this. So we could have, done like what a lot of people do. A lot of the process builders out there are really just manual. You're walking people through. This has a lot of very powerful automations that will save your staff a lot of time. And so all of these automations take up a lot of potential processing power, whether it's based on a search, whether it's based on attendance, where the system has 12 current and there's a few more coming ways to take attendance. That, we had to get in there and make sure all of that was super performant and had zero impact on the rest of the system. And so all the actions to take, things like sending emails, start doing tasks, updating records, moving people to different involvements and things like that. So a lot of different things here that you can do and automate. And we've heard great feedback from those that are using it. On this page, it's showing you managing all the people in that process. And so this, again, coming very soon. Thank you to all the beta testers. Thank you to the development team. They have just done a fabulous job really making sure that as this is designed and built, it's done in a way that, again, will have little to no impact on the rest of the system, whether you're using it to manage 100,000 people or 5 people. it will work the same way and be extremely powerful. So we're extremely excited about that. Next is something else that I showed off at Summit. Oh, nope. We shared some other stats around infrastructure, and Adam Ash, our head developer, I'll just mention this. We now that we're under the CAS kind of family, he has been working with the broader CAS infrastructure team, and there are 28 APIs that measure things like performance, scalability, resource utilization that he measures and is held accountable to and reports on across the company. And so we've done a lot to just make sure the system is up and running at optimal performance so that you can rely on it, depend on it for your ministries. And so I won't go into much depth on that, but we talked a lot about that at Summit. If it's something you're interested in learning more, we'd encourage you. We'll be doing sessions every year probably on this. So join us for that. And the next thing was we actually previewed a new tool that has been in development that should be coming out as well this fall, all built under the new infrastructure. And it's a report builder tool. And so Haley, on the next screen, you'll see under the blue toolbar, you're probably familiar with this third icon here. Typically, you're used to seeing 3 columns. The first 2, maybe SQL and Python scripts, and then the last one for custom reports. We now have this report builder where you can build new custom reports. And the beauty of it is when you click on that to build a new report, it will take you to a screen that looks like this, where you can name the report, and it gives you a preview of the first 10 names. And you can click up there on the plus column, and that will take you to a screen that looks like this, where it's a GUI that lets you select the different columns. And so the current report builder, the current custom reports allows you to select what I call kind of like fields. What this is going to do is allow you to do things like calculated fields. So you should no longer need SQL, Python to build a lot of these reports. So we're really excited about that. We showed this off at Summit. I had a workshop that I talked through some really creative uses for this. And this is something that should be in beta testing very soon, and we'll be launching later this year. And so that's what this looks like. Some other things here, you can, if you click on the little pencil, it gives you the ability to, drag and reorder the columns and delete columns and rename columns and things like that. And there's a duplicate and delete functionality as well. So that's the report builder in a nutshell. And then next, I will talk about some look ahead things that we are excited to, and that we announced at Summit. Again, this isn't going to cover everything. Don't have time for that. But there's some highlights that we wanted to share here. So first is a new registration form. We are super excited about this. We are going to be building, we have been working on the specs and the design of this from an infrastructure and a spec and design standpoint for, probably since beginning of this year. Super excited about it. It's going to have a new flow to it, very simplified, very clean, and it will include conditional logic. So you'll be able to, based on the questions, it will determine other questions that could follow that. So we're super excited about launching that or announcing that. The next is that we are going to continue to build on what we've been doing with Touchpoint sites and the mobile app. By pulling in events, we've really realized we need more robust calendaring and rooms. And so we are building a room reservation calendaring system. This is just showing you one screenshot. I have about 30 pages of designs already. So super excited about this, but this is the ability to, this is showing you setting up and kind of managing different rooms. And then there's all kinds of other functionality that will be a part of this around calendaring, and will impact schedules and meetings and all kinds of things. So there's a lot more that you'll hear about this, but I just wanted to share a sneak peek on that. Next is that if those of you that are using Ministry by Text, now called Powered by Text, we're excited to announce that we have worked with them, and this is actually in testing right now as well, to do some MMS integration, which means that you can attach video or images to your text. So this is part of the Ministry by Text integration, now Powered by Text, and that will be coming out after it's gone through our testing processes. Also, We're enhancing our background check and ministry safe training integration so that now you'll be able to do that from the blue toolbar. So at the bottom of here, you'll see under checks and trainings, if you have the PMM or the ministry safe integration, you'll be able to run those checks from the blue toolbar, which means if you run a search and you find these are the 100 people that need a background check, you can now run those all in mass, as opposed to having to click on each individual person and doing those individually. Next here, phase 3 of finance enhancements. Won't go into super depth on this because we've been talking about this a lot over the summer, but we are integrating, combining the transactions and contributions into one search page. This is just going to make things a lot easier to manage. There'll be much more robust filters, and all the actions and tools will be right there on one page. Moving on, you will see we're also adding the ability to add or edit a recurring gift on the back end. So if you have, some of you might know that you have donors that need a little bit extra handholding. If they walk into the church office, you could help them do this and set this up manually. And then this is something that is coming to Touchpoint Giving. So we support integrations with several different payment processors. The one that we launched this last year called Touchpoint Giving, because we have much more total control over the front end and back end, we are excited that we will be rolling out Apple Pay and Google Pay. There are quite a few extra steps to set this up, but we've done all of the investigation and work to manage that, and we're super excited to be bringing this to our Touchpoint Giving churches. And then a few enhancements coming to mobile. Showed a lot in 3.0. There's a few things here that I'll highlight that are in development right now that'll be coming in one of the next versions, which is an enhancement to task and notes. So in addition to being able to add a task or add a note, which can be done currently, we are going to be adding a My Task page, which allows you to manage all your tasks. And then on a person's profile, if you have the appropriate access, you would be able to go and see the history of any completed task and notes. So this is really powerful if you're going out on a hospital visitation or following up on one of these. You can actually go and see that history. So hey, I'm going to visit them today, but Bill Hansen visited them last week, and I can see the notes about that visit. So the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. Very powerful there, right there in the mobile app. Attendance has gotten completely redesigned and is being rebuilt from the ground up, including, I'll just highlight in this right-hand column, when you're adding a guest now, you'll be able to search the whole database. But what we're going to do is we're going to mask the phone number and email address. So if you're trying to figure out, it's Michael F., you can say, oh, are you the Michael Fox ending with phone number 5535, but you're not, seeing that whole phone number and jeopardizing somebody's privacy or security there. So super excited about the way this is coming together. And then lastly, pre-check-in has been completely redesigned as well. Just very clean, very simple. Will work the same powerful way with our current check-in system. There's lots more. Unfortunately, I was not able to cover, but we are excited to announce those things. And just as a reminder, we cover the whole roadmap and go into much more detail at Summit. So if you missed this year, please do join us next year. I won't let the cat out of the bag, Haley. I'll let you share that announcement after your training update. So thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you. So next, we're going to go into a training update. And we are excited to announce that we are rolling out a learning management system. And so I'm going to be referring to this as an LMS. And so this is, of course, going to be able to assist your teams with learning Touchpoint. So this is separate from the roadmap because it's not integrated with your Touchpoint database. But you're going to learn in a few minutes how you'll be able to enhance what we are creating. So this is our current training library. So if your team has completed any trainings, then this list is going to look familiar to you. So each course has a training video associated with it, whether it's 60 minutes or 30 minutes long, and then supplemental training content. So this is our foundation course for all Touchpoint users. It's Touchpoint Basics and People Records. We can see that we've got a training video here. We've got help articles, and then we've got a self-assessment and a quiz. And so a staff member or a lay leader can view the course overview. And then from there, they can select the self-assessment after watching the training video. And the self-assessment is comprised of role-based challenges. So we've got different assignments for admin users than for other team members. Different challenges, of course, for finance users as well. And then we have the quiz. So quizzes also accompany each course. There are 10 questions for the hour-long videos. And so this is going to test the knowledge on the topic based on what was covered in that particular video. And then finally, this is the main training landing page for Touchpoint training. So I have customized this to include our brand and our graphics, of course, the text that I want, the training videos that I want, links that I want. I'm going to documentation there, we can see. I've customized the URL. And so this is what you will share with your team to get them started with Touchpoint training. And the LMS is going to be part of every church's annual subscription. Now, there are some additional perks if you would like to have a paid instance of it. So for $1,500 per year, you can have your own training instance. And so what that would mean is this landing page that you see here, it will be customized to have your church's logo, your church's brand on it. You can have your own custom URL so that your staff and your lay leaders will use your own URL. You can also add different team members, than who are in the primary Touchpoint training instance as well. And probably some of the primary benefits to having your own instance. So likely the database administrators are going to be wanting to manage this. And so you will have access to everything that I've already shown in the free version, but you can also add your own training videos as well, your own content. And then you can also create groups or teams. And so then you can assign training based on my finance users. I'm going to group them together. My children's ministry, I'm going to have those grouped together. And so you can have different trainings, whether they're Touchpoint trainings or Touchpoint and a combination of your church's trainings, and then assign them. And then you can also generate your own reports. And so the reports are very robust. We can see reports broken down by course. So you can, see comparatively how some courses are doing. Some, maybe a lot of people are taking this course, but not a lot of people are taking this one. You can see when people log in, and if it's an hour-long course, say, gosh, well, they only spent 5 minutes on this course, and it's an hour-long video. So, what's going on there? You can also have reports by group. So again, if you put people together based on, finance users, then you can report based on the group as well. But without your own instance, all of that information is just available to me because I cannot make all of our church partners' information available to everyone. So your own instance gets you all of that. And if you want to learn more, scan this QR code. And also, we will be making this recording available to everyone, and I will include this there as well. But I'm going to be hosting a Zoom call in the next 4 to 6 weeks to share more information and really just to launch the LMS. And so if you want to be a part of that, if you want to learn more, sign up. This is just a simple form. I think I put 2 questions on there. So just let me know you're interested, and I'll make sure to include you on that call. Next up, we are introducing Touchpoint's chatbot to help get some of your questions answered quickly. And so you can visit copilot.touchpointsoftware.com. And so this is what you'll see. And in the bottom right-hand corner, when you're on that page, again, it's copilot.touchpointsoftware.com. You'll see an icon, and you can just click on that icon, and then the chat box will open up. And that's where you can just simply type in your question, and then you'll see the answer typed out. And along with the typed out responses, you will also have a video and then supporting documentation. And so this is the video that we have that was recommended. It's one from our training library, and then the help article as well. So it's important to note that this is still in beta. You are probably going to get some inaccurate responses as you're going through this, but it's getting better. We strongly recommend that the Touchpoint power users are the ones who utilize Touchpoint Copilot for now. We don't recommend this for those who are learning Touchpoint. The power users, y'all are well versed on the system. And so you're going to know if Copilot is giving us inaccurate information. And so, again, it's going to be learning from what you tell it, how the feedback that you provide. And so we can see here we have a question. Overall, how would you like to rate this response? There was a previous question and I clicked on yes, thank you. I think it was this helpful? And I clicked yes, thank you. And so whenever we give a rating, that's how we tell the system if it's doing well or not doing well. That's how we get it improved. Now, again, we also just launched the rating system. But, as you receive your response, just make sure you take a moment to indicate whether or not it was helpful. And then you can also give it 1 to 3 stars. And if you want to learn more about Copilot, you can also scan this QR code to learn more. And I will include this also in our recap that we send out. All right, Summit 2024. So we spend a lot of time talking about potential hosts for Summit every year. And so we talk to several churches every year. And then as we ask questions and, talk to those potential hosts, then we come back together and have team meetings. And so we huddle up and we discuss, what would be the best location for Summit. And we keep in mind several different factors as we're deciding. So next year's Summit is going to be in Birmingham, Alabama. We are heading back to the Deep South. In fact, I don't know that we've been to the Deep South yet, but we are heading to the Deep South in Alabama. This is my home state. This is where I was born and raised, so I'm excited to go there. But the wonderful people at Vestavia Hills Methodist Church have just graciously offered to host us, so they're excited to welcome us to their church and to their city. So far, we know that we will be in Alabama September 16th through 20th, but we don't know the exact conference dates just yet. So you can go ahead and pencil in your calendar that it's going to be sometime the week of September 16th through 20th, but we're still discussing as a team exactly what that looks like. And we will have more information for you soon on that. And Chris, we finished with 1 minute to spare.
All right. So a lot to cover there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you do have questions, don't hesitate putting those in the chat. Unfortunately, because we had so much content to cover today, we don't have time for questions, but we will try to get to those over email to you individually. Thank you again. I'm just going to say this. Summit is just such a great event. It's a great time to come and learn, to be inspired by other partner churches, and to network with other churches. And so there's just so much we cover in those 3 days. If this is something you haven't been to, I strongly encourage you to try to work it into your budget next year. Make sure it's blocked out on your calendar to try to send a handful of staff. One of the things I heard probably the most on closing day was, my church sends me and I'm supposed to go and train people, but I really wish I brought a team, because there's every one of these workshops, and there were 5 workshop times, has 5 different tracks. And so
7 different tracks at 5 different times.
7 different tracks, 5 different times. Sorry. Just a lot of content. We put a lot of time and energy into planning this. And so, and it's for you all. We love being together in person with you and serving you and helping you think of creative ways to use technology to serve your ministries and make it thrive. So hopefully you can join us next year, and we'll see you on a future webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.